action, from raising your hand, from taking the lead, or worse, from fulfilling on life goals and doing the things you've always dreamed of wanting to do. That tiny voice in your head that says, that's not safe, don't take that risk, you're going to fail. So now if you don't know what tiny voice I'm talking about, let's take a moment and listen for it. You've probably heard it say, what tiny voice? I don't have a tiny voice. What the heck is she talking about? That's the tiny voice. I learned about this tiny voice 3 years ago. Sorry, it was 3 years ago. I learned about this tiny voice in a 3-day leadership course that I took a few years ago called the Landmark Forum. And through this course, I got where this tiny voice had actually been dictating how my life was going to go and how my life was showing up, which wasn't necessarily in line with the way that I had wanted it. I'd like to share with you today some examples from my life upon taking this course where consciousness of this little voice in the moment and the discovery of the root of where the thoughts came from gave me access to having doubt, having fear, having concern, and being in action toward the things that I really loved and wanted. My hope is that by the end of this speech, you're also left with an awareness and a newfound confidence to go after the things that you love and you truly want for yourself, and consider that there is a weekend course called the Landmark Forum that can provide you that. The 3 key players in my life that was dictating my actions, my thoughts, and my reactions were the following, and I'd be interested to get a show of hands to see how many people in the room can relate to these. 1, being liked by everybody, and the inability to say no at the risk of being disliked or left out. Yeah. 2, competitiveness and comparing myself to others, valuing my worth based on the performance of those around me. And number 3, self-doubt. Am I doing it right? I don't think this is something I can do. Is there anyone else that can do this or say this for me so I don't have to because I'll screw it up? Yeah. They're ugly, but it's what we tell ourselves. I learned in the forum that we tell ourselves things that we would never say to anyone else. How many people can relate to that? Yeah. So these 3 things were showing up in my life in forms such as, 1, if I had to be liked by everyone and wouldn't say no to the risk of losing the relationship, of course I was overextending, overexerting, and overpaying for people that maybe I was close to, but likely I was not. Birthday party? Well, of course I have to go. It's a birthday. What was their last name again? That's details. The cost on me was that I wasn't seeing how little time and money was left for myself. With so much time exerted towards people that I was trying to get to love me, what was the experience like for the people that were there, longtime friends and family? 2, competitiveness and comparing myself to others. Middle school and high school was the worst. Popularity, looks, grades, how I dressed, what music I listened to, what college I was going to go to, who was I dating, who wasn't I dating, and it didn't stop there. What company did I work for? How much money was I making? Where was I living? How old am I, and what have I accomplished? It doesn't stop. The little voice in my head pulled out a soapbox and was singing. More on this later. 3, self-doubt. Believe it or not, I was actually shy for most of my life. Of course, I've got self-doubt running the show. It's going to keep my hair long in front of my face, in the back of the room, behind the crowd with my arms crossed. So this kept me in my room, or there aren't going to be any risks taken because the self-doubt force is too strong. So this kept me in my room, my nose in magazines, reading about other people's experience for most of my adolescent years. As an adult, it was difficult to take action and make commitments because I was never sure if any choice that I made by me was really the right one. This also led to a lot of returns when I went shopping. In the course, I was asked to recall, I think I am missing something, but that's okay. In the course, I was asked to recall a memory, a significant moment between 5 and 7 years old. That could be older, it could be younger. I'm sorry, rewind, I found the one I was looking for. So, perhaps some of you are relating to times in your life where these characteristics have shown up. And if not, take a look at areas in your life where you're not 110% fulfilled and satisfied, And as I go through these next steps, look where you can bring these distinctions to those areas. So the first around being liked. In the course, I was asked to recall a memory, a significant moment, usually between 5 and 7 years old. It could be younger, it could be older, but where something happened. And in the mind of that 5-year-old, I had heard, and made a decision about myself that has been dictating or influencing the decisions I made for the rest of my life. Sound too wordy and vague? Well, what I discovered was, when I was in 1st grade, I went to a Japanese language school where I already didn't feel like I fit in because I was only half Japanese. And the group of girls that I was with at recess ran away from me. And I spent the rest of the recess kicking dirt and wandering around alone. In that moment, what I heard and decided about myself was that I'm weird, I don't fit in, and they don't like me. Fast forward a decade or two, it's no wonder getting acknowledgement from others and the inclusion in groups have become such a major priority in my life. Number 2, another memory. My mom, my good old Japanese mom, #AsianMoms, was always talking about Emily, a Japanese classmate who excelled in violin and was tall and thin and was good at ballet, whose art was extraordinary while my pieces were never finished. Why couldn't I be more like Emily? Competitiveness and comparing myself to others. Discovering this again decades later, I brought it up with my mother, who unsurprisingly didn't recall any of these moments from 1992. But what she did remember was that a memory of her mom comparing her to a girl in her neighborhood when she was a little girl. I hated that girl, she recalls, and I never knew why. 3, self-doubt. My father I would best describe as reactive, and goes from calm to eyes bulging, red-faced, veins popping out of his neck in 0 to 1 second. Micromanager, control freak, and perfectionist are other words that come to mind. He's a wonderful man and does great work, but you can imagine if someone such as myself does something out of line of his clear picture, the first words that come out of his mouth are, "Why did you do that?" I learned fast not to touch things, and that most things were better fit for professionals, i.e. anyone other than myself. Bringing this up to my father then suddenly created an opening of retrospection for him to recall working on projects with his dad. Grandpa did always had a particular way of doing things, and I see that he just wanted me to get them right. I usually wanted to do things my own way, though. What I got from the Landmark Forum, amongst many, many other things, and from these conversations from that exercise, was the ability to recognize these concerns and now have them right there in front of me. That I can now choose to do something with it. They're never going to go away. I'm still going to doubt myself when asked to do something risky, or remind myself that friends still love me even though I didn't get a wedding invitation. But it now doesn't dictate my actions, and I'm left with a choice. So I hope this speech has left you a little bit more freed up as you go back out into the world and back into your life. And when you can, take some time to reflect and look back at events that have happened in your childhood that could correlate with what you're facing today. And if you can, have conversations with the people in your life about what you discovered. Sometimes the responses you'll get will astonish you. And who knows, maybe recognizing the source of your fear will have you up here next week as next week's speaker. Thank you so much.